Oh, you gotta do,
This is literally excited to talk to the. Where's the? No, I can't. Yes. Well, I can tell you that, yeah. Mark, yeah. Well, she's. And I did. Is that the last story of the mother? And all this late work, you should get online and most of the energy story. Needs this story. And it's huge for the thousands. Critical, that's not. There you go. Straight like that upstairs. No, you do not. No, should be like you gonna change that?
Get it?
I did. Thank you.
Just as a reminder that you need to make sure that you push the button so it's green in order to speak directly into the microphone. It is directional. So if you're talking over here, it's not picking up.
No, speak into the microphone, Mark, not sniff into the microphone. It's a heck of a lot better than it used to be.
And the helicopter went away in the middle school, so that was
Jen
good.
doesn't have to get here 20 minutes early to put the wires out and all that good stuff. Like I do with. Okay, it's. Oh, that's a word or not.
Daughter or son?
Son's girlfriend.
Not surprising they didn't get in.
Rich, can you, it just didn't go? Rich, can you text me that the password?
Barbara, we good?
I got the right-
Very good.
So we're good.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our January 9th Town Council meeting. First one of the new year. First, we'll begin with our emergency evacuation plan. In the event of an emergency, 2 doors on the left, 1 door up front here. We would exit the building, cross Middle Road, and await further instruction at the school administration building. With that, if we could all stand for our pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for our men and women serving in harm's way. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay. We'll begin with our roll call.
Mr. Katzman,
Here.
Ms. Abbott. Here. Mr. Gleason,
Here.
Mr. Hamilton.
Here.
Mr. Levesque.
Here.
Dr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Aguirre.
Here. Okay. President's executive summary. Do not have anything to update anyone on. So we will begin with our consent agenda.
Motion to approve as presented?
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Next, we have minutes from our December 12th meeting.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Okay, next, we're moving on to our town administrators report. Mr. Rayner.
Again, Mr. President, Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder that this year's annual Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns convention and exposition will be at the Crown Plaza in Warwick on March 23rd. The expo will begin at 8:30 with opening remarks at 9:15. And if you're interested, you can register via the league's website. Moody's Investor Service has revised its rating methodology. There are over 300 cities and counties rated by Moody's that are under review for possible changes, and this will include Portsmouth. We reviewed a request for information from Moody's with their representative and our bond advisor last week. Their new methodology will place a greater emphasis on a community's cyber security stance, susceptibility to climate change, cash reserves, and the ability to access special funds. Portsmouth is currently rated AA2 by Moody's. We expect a determination of our new rating under the revised methodology to be released Thursday. Portsmouth is rated AAA by Standard & Poor's, and that rating has just been confirmed as stable. The Rhode Island Interlocal Trust Annual Dinner Meeting will be held Thursday, January 19th at the Crown Plaza, also the same place in Warwick as the Rhode Island League of Cities Town Expo. There will be a member seminar starting at 4:30, followed by a reception and dinner, and RSVPs are asked for by January 13th via their website, the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust website. Transfer station stickers are now available for sale at the tax collector's office. The transfer station stickers will cost $250 for the first vehicle per household and then $10 for one additional vehicle per household. Last year's stickers will provide entry into the Headley transfer station until January 31st and April 1st at the Prudence Island transfer station. The tax office will be open just for sticker sales on Saturday, February 4th, at the end of the Headley grace period. Another reminder, if you have inputs for legislative priorities, please forward those to the town clerk. The next council meeting will be the annual joint session with the school committee. At that meeting, we will provide a brief overview of the upcoming budget process, and you'll discuss your legislative priorities with our state legislators. Ethics training that will be held by the State Ethics Commission on Monday, January 30th at 7 p.m. The town clerk has notified council, staff, and committee members required to attend. The current collective bargaining agreement with the Public Works Union, National Association of Government Employees, Local 280, will expire on June 30th. We have received notice in accordance with Rhode Island general law that the union is requesting negotiations for a successor agreement, and we have agreed to begin negotiations on the 24th of this month. A request from the police department to prohibit parking adjacent to the existing crosswalk in the vicinity of Flows on Park Avenue was heard by the State Traffic Commission last October. Vehicles often park adjacent to the crosswalk, and pedestrians are required to peer around parked vehicles to look for oncoming traffic. Conversely, motorists traveling along the roadway might not be able to see pedestrians in the crosswalk until it's too late. We have received word from the State Traffic Commission that they have approved to prohibit parking on Park Avenue between Amarad Avenue and Gormley Avenue on the north side of Park Avenue, and approximately 20 feet in either direction from the crosswalk on the southern side of the street. Signage and pavement marking will be completed by the end of spring. And then lastly, Senator Jack Reed's office notified us last week that the Portsmouth Police Department has been approved for a community project funding. And that initiative will provide $30,000 for new mobile data terminal sets for the police fleet. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Fran. Move on to removals, resignation, and appointments. First item under removals, Melville Park Committee. We have two. It's Mr. James Wesner and Mr. William White.
Excuse me, move to approve the removal.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And then we have on the Tree Commission, removal of Rick Taylor and Brendan Depressed.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Resignations on the Bristol Ferry Town Center Committee from Ms. Ann Vickers.
Move to approve with regret.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And on the Melville Park Committee, it's the resignation of Mr. Raymond Abraham.
Move to accept with regret.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. And now moving on to appointments to the Melville Park Committee. We have an application for Mr. Richard Alexander.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Park and Recreation Committee, there's 3 vacancies. We have one application for Ms. Charlene Patton.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. For the Design Review Board, it's the reappointment for Ms. Leslie Costa.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Katzman,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Harbor Commission, reappointment, Ms. Patricia Rossi.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Planning Board, it's the reappointment for Ms. Kathleen Wilson.
Move to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, and then Tree Commission, the reappointment for Leslie Costa.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott,
Aye.
Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
Aye.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Okay. Moving on to old business, monthly finance report. Mr. Patrick.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. As of the end of November twenty twenty-two, the town was 42% or 5 months through fiscal year twenty twenty-three. Year-to-date general fund revenues and expenditures were both at 39% of total budget. Revenues were slightly behind schedule due to delayed tax collections, and expenditures were less than budgeted due to favorable spending trends so far in the year. And that concludes my report, barring any questions.
Any questions, comments from counselors? No. Okay, Mr. Fitzmaurice.
Thank you, Mr. President. Larry Fitzmaurice, 50 Kristen Court. I know it's a small matter. Well, no, it's not a small matter, but it's a small percentage. But do we have a cause for delay in collections on property taxes?
Just to clarify, by delay, I just mean, you'd expect 42% of collections through that period of time, and we're just slightly behind, which is already self-corrected through December of 2022. So
Didn't hear all of that.
it's already self-corrected essentially. We're essentially 50% collected if I have my numbers correct.
All right, so
So
since
of-
drafting this, you've come up to your spec
Yes, sir.
expected. Another question, it's my understanding that the audit is late for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2022. Why is it late? If it is late, is it late?
No, it's not late. We were granted a 30-day extension because there were some journal entries that needed to be clarified. That happened right before Christmas. The draft was essentially done. The auditor still had 6 other communities to get in by the December 30th deadline. So the Auditor General gave us 30 days to complete that report. And the bottom line is due to the turnover in finance. The accounting payroll clerk was out for, well, she just returned today. She's been out since the beginning of fall. And both the finance director and the deputy finance director both left, one in the spring, one in the summer. And it took us almost 5 months to get a new finance director. So we were granted 30 extra days to complete due to personnel turnover.
Okay, but I would recommend that we pay a little bit more of attention with respect to making these due dates, because this is a charter requirement for both the town administrator and the council itself. These audits are supposed to be due on the 31st of December, come what may. And we've missed a number of them in recent years, and some of them weren't our fault. Shahady had problems, the accounting firm, and apparently have problems again. But these are requirements of the charter, and it is a very important document. It's delivered to the people. The people wrote the charter to make sure that they would have access. And we seem to be drifting off into areas, well, a habit of being late, with apologies. So I understand that there are reasons here, but I expect that, my understanding is, sir, you'll have this done pretty quick.
It's due the 30th of January. We expect it to be done before that.
All right, thank you.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Lebec? Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye, motion passes 7-0. On to new business. First item is request approval of a letter of support for Church Community Housing Corporation application to Rhode Island Housing for the coordinated consolidated funding program. Mr. Gatsman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was asked to put this on the agenda by the Church Community Housing Corporation. I was hoping that I would sort of contain everything in the letter of support, that this is consistent with the memorandum of understanding that we've entered into with the with CCHC in the past. They are applying for I believe it's called something like a consolidated application. It's a application for some funding and tax benefits and other bunch of stuff to something like 11 different agencies all through this one application. And this letter says that we support that application.
I mean, that we approve the correspondence and authorize the president to forward it to the appropriate part of the housing and mortgage finance resolution.
Yeah, just, you need to turn your mic on first. You need to turn on the mic. Say it all again. There you go.
I did listen to you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And and I have to say it all again.
Yes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the correspondence as drafted and that the president be authorized to forward the correspondence to the Rhode Island Housing and Mortgage Finance Corporation.
Second.
Question? Sure.
Question. The Rhode Island Housing and Mortgage Finance Corporation, can I just get a little background? Because I'm not up to speed with this whole situation, if you don't mind.
Sure, I would defer to others who have more info. So they go by RI Housing is how they're most commonly referred to. Their formal name is.
I think the RIMPAC.
So they go by Rhode Island Housing and Mortgage Finance Corporation is their formal name. They used to go by RIMFAC. Now their website says RI Housing. They are the state's agency that manages financial backing and lending and a bunch of other stuff, programs, some of them federal programs.
They handle things like the CISLIP program.
For
And
communities as well as
I'll tell you,
individuals.
You know, most of
Communities
these
and
projects
not
don't
profits.
have really any sort of profit sort of motive out, and so the RIMPAC has been designed over the years to provide support and financing and oversight on almost all of the public building programs in the state. Very reputable.
We also, we use them for they actually ran our septic program when we had our own in-house
Oh, I
program.
did, okay. Very good, thank you.
Is there any further questions? Is there anything online? No. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Lebec?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next, we're going to have our public hearing. This was for the proposed amendment to chapter 364 tobacco products. I think we've all seen the modification to the ordinance. Mr. Hamilton, do you want to add anything?
No, I just, once the cannabis became legal, and also with the proliferation of vaping devices, I just thought it was time to update the ordinance so that families at the beach or at a park or at a sporting event aren't subjected to people smoking. Granted, it's probably not going to stop those people who are still going to do it, but at least there's something behind it that the police department can fall back on.
And I'll point out our chief also affirmed that Mr. Hamilton's amendment to our current ordinance would make enforcement a lot easier, since the police then wouldn't have to go up to the person, determine what product they were burning, and then decide whether or not an enforcement was indicated. So it streamlines enforcement of the statute.
I think this is definitely something that it was needed and avoids things falling between the cracks. So, I mean, this is a public hearing, so we can open up to public comments. Anything online?
My understanding is that marijuana has a more distinctive odor than tobacco. I don't really know that for a fact,
I wouldn't know.
but I've been told.
I've been around some cigars. that Pretty distinctive.
Okay.
Cigars are covered underneath the tobacco portion.
Right.
Yes. So, I mean, it is a public hearing. Do I really have to ask 3 times?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yeah, well.
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton.
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
I,
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. So that motion passes 7-0 to close the public hearing.
Motion to approve the ordinance as written.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque, sorry, Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
I,
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have correspondence.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
I,
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have future meetings. Our next meeting is going to be January 23rd, regular council meeting. January 30th is the ethics training. And then February 13th would be our first meeting in February for the council.
Just one quick comment on those. The 23rd meeting is shaping up to be a lengthy one. Would it be beneficial for us to start with the legislative agenda and if possible, with our legislators and the school committee at 6? I don't know if that works for the council or I guess we should check with the legislature first if they see if they can make it down, but
Okay, I'll ask and find out.
Yeah.
well, actually, they're not in session on Monday nights.
Wait, sorry, you said you want to start at 6?
I know it's tough for you.
Well, you can start at 6. I won't be here at 6.
Mr. Hamilton, I realize times have changed, but back when I was on the council back in the 90s, why, we never got out of here before midnight, right, Mr. Gavin? We just be getting started.
I've done it 12:45 as well, but we also passed in previous sessions, we've passed a rule not to go past 10 o'clock. So.
Nobody told me that when I.
All right, well, let's.
If it happens, it happens. It's just a suggestion. I mean, there's 2 public hearings on it, or sorry,
Right.
1 public hearing or 2 public hearings. That could be like.
Just one.
Just one now, yeah.
Just the one.
It just could be a lengthy night.
Yeah, if we can, to.
We can
Councilmember
try.
Hamilton's point, front load the legislative matters and then front load the hearing.
But we're also gonna do are we doing the overarching school budget,
Yeah.
budget presentation as well?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, maybe.
I avoided to calling it a dog and pony show this time again. Did you see that, Mr. Lemay?
I get very upset.
So,
So,
There's no dogs or ponies in the budget.
so our January 23rd meeting could possibly start at 6.
I'll check with everybody.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Mr. Capson,
Aye.
Ms. Abbott. Aye. Mr. Gleason,
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton,
Aye.
Mr. Levesque,
I.
Dr. Ryan,
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre.
Aye, motion passes 7-0. Thank you all. We'll see you on the 23rd. Time to be determined.
Packed.